All right, guys, we're back. Yeah, sorry about that. Technical difficulties nice and early in the morning.
Ridiculous. All right, so just recap, right? I said AJ Brown to his question. AJ Brown uh, pretty much went chalk. Ridley and I forget the other
Cooks.
one. Cooks. Next
All
game.
right. Next game, Cincinnati Bengals at Chicago Bears. Cincinnati looked pretty good, man. Getting a lot of Jamar Chase questions, to be honest with you, as well. Should we be playing Jamar Chase today? He had the most targets on the team, or can we see Higgins or Boyd getting a little bit more love, even though Higgins, had the touchdown last week? On the flip side, Bears did not look good against the Rams, but they were playing the Rams. Obviously, Cincinnati is not the Rams. Can we rely on Montgomery? Obviously, A Rob can he have the bounce back game? But thinking about somebody a little bit more outside the box, Mooney, even though he's banged up, could this be a Mooney game where you see him going deep and catching a deep ball?
Yeah, all of last week's Bears will bounce back. No worries about any of that. Mooney, A Rob especially. I see people asking if they should play A Rob. Yes, you're playing the Bengals. Problem here is that they're starting Andy Dalton. Well, this is kind of one of those revenge game narratives for Dalton, but unfortunately, I feel like unless he uh, exacts revenge and plays really well, you're going to see Justin Fields a lot more in this game, and that's good for your Bears as well. For the Bengals, you mentioned Chase. Boyd had the down week last week. Um, I'm still fine with any of the three Bengals wide receivers, and then of course Mixon as well. This game, I'm not really shying away from anybody if you must play them. Hold on. Yes, Noah. Okay. A day of chaos.
um, all right,
No, we did not answer your question.
not
We
yet.
had a first video and it got ridiculously interrupted by my dinosaur.
All right, so here's Juan's question. It's posted now. Adams, Debo. So we need to do. Those are his guys. He needs a third.
Here, now he's back. Adams and Devos, you need a third. Um, Valdez Scantling is enticing. Um, I'd probably go with Rager against the Niners.
Yeah, I felt the same way. I think they're going to focus on Devonta Smith a little bit more, and Rager should be hopefully getting a deep ball. Or, I mean, again, Hertz looked his way too. So, all right. Next one here. Houston Texans at the Cleveland Browns. Obviously, Houston surprised us last week with the amount of offense that they were able to put out onto the field.
Not
Do they
me.
have the same thing? You're right. You did call that you thought Houston would have a good game against Jacksonville. I think it surprised the rest of the world, to be honest with you. But again, Cook seems to be the guy. Is there any running back that we could actually start this week from this Texans team? On the flip side, Cleveland had a very, very close game with Kansas City.
Noah,
Do you think that this is the game where they're like, listen, we want to make sure that we are all systems go and showing everybody that it wasn't just a fluke last week and they beat up on this Texans team that is obviously deprived of a lot of good NFL players? And who's the players that will step up?
Cleveland had that game won. They basically gave it to Kansas City. I'm sure they're going to take it out on Houston today without a doubt. The only thing that I worry about, and the narrative is that Cleveland's a running team. If you look back, I mean, last week kind of as well, but the last 6 games of last season, they threw just about as much as any other team in the NFL, but on the higher end of percentage. They were a passing team. They have the best offensive line. They have 2 stud running backs, but they were throwing a ton. They're not a run first team necessarily. It's the narrative. This game, however, against the Houston rush defense, I do feel like that they use Chubb quite a bit to get it going, get the ball down. Um, no Odell once again. We'll see what other wide receivers show up. Landry's a fine play, of course. Let's see if Higgins gets more involved. Baker loves them. They got DPJ, and they got Anthony Schwartz. So a ton of options. And I told you last week we liked Bryant and Njoku, and Njoku was the one that did better than Hooper. I feel like they're going to take it out offensively. You play your Browns if you have to. You obviously have to judge it off of who you got. You don't play Donovan Peoples-Jones just because I'm saying to play all your Browns. But if he's your best option, you're in a really deep league, then you probably could get lucky a little bit with him this week. And the Houston side, I think you're going to see a big game from David Johnson because they're going to be down because that Houston defense is really tough. They're going to be tough to run on with the other running backs, and he's their pass-catching back. We saw that last week. I told you that's what it was going to be. And Brandon Cooks got to play him because, again, they're going to be down. Cleveland Browns defense is a great play today.
All right. Alan, what's going on, man? Start Sutton over Higgins or keep Higgins starting?
Sutton.
All right. Start and flex PPR. Higgins, Sutton, Gordon, Rager, Beasley, Gainwell, or Mark Ingram. A lot of players there.
Sutton.
All right. Rob, let's go Jets. You are there, correct, Goya? Let's go Jets. All right, next game here. Los Angeles Rams at the Indianapolis Colts. In my opinion, I think this is the game of the week. You have two really decent offenses against two really decent defenses. The Rams made it look really easy against the Bears last Sunday night. Do they continue to do that? And who's going to be that guy? I mean, it seemed like the ball kind of went everywhere. Do we see a little Higbee showing up this week or a little bit more? On the flip side, a lot of Hines questions, especially with PPR. Are we starting Hines? Is Hines a good flex option? And with Pittman Jr. banged up, you had mentioned Pascal. Anybody else we should be paying attention to from that wide receiver standpoint?
Yeah, when I talked about the Bears earlier, you got to remember the defense that they were playing against. That's why they're going to bounce back today. That's why you don't shy away from Allen Robinson. Probably not Mooney if you need him in a flex or wide receiver 3. Now with the Colts, we have to sort of think about this.
He's living the best life, man.
Yeah, we got to sort of think about this going against this defense. Think about the wide receivers that struggled for the Bears last week, and now you got the top 2 wide receivers for the Colts. If we're not talking about Pascal, coming in questionable, right? You got Campbell and Pittman both questionable, both limited practice all week long. Both kind of underperformed last week because Carson Wentz is terrible. So we'll see if they try and lean a little bit more on Jonathan Taylor. That's going to be tough. Now, the main thing that always happens in sports, football, when 2 good defenses play against each other, most of the times people think it's going to be low scoring. But most of the times it ends up being one of the higher scoring games of the week. For whatever reason, that seems to be what happens. Now, I do think that the Rams are going to have no trouble putting up points because I see Wentz throwing at least a couple interceptions, if not 1 interception, 1 fumble. 2 turnovers from Wentz today, minimum. I think we're going to hear the call for Jacob Eason very quickly after this game. So I'm going to I'll play Pascal if I absolutely have to. For a wide receiver 3 or a flex. Hines for the same sort of reason, the check down. Taylor because he's the workhorse. For the Rams, the downer game last week was Robert Woods. I think Robert Woods has a big game this week. Kupp seems like he's Stafford's guy, but I think you see Woods bounce back big time this week. And this is, again, what I talked about in the first video before we got interrupted. A lot of times in week 1, guys that you're starting have a down week. People put him on the bench. Robert Woods is the second player this week to fit that mold. The running back situation, I'd shy away from Henderson because I'm shying away from him to begin with. Michelle's probably going to get a little more snaps. You didn't see anything out of Jake Funk last week. You might see him this week against a tougher defensive line and even the secondary. So as far as the Rams, you play Kupp, I'll play Woods. I really like Higbee moving forward. Higbee was on the field a ton, got a ton of targets. I'm thinking that I might have to readjust my feelings about Higbee. So if you're somebody who's in a league and for whatever reason Higbee's on the waiver wire, or maybe you can make a stab at Higbee before game time. I feel like he's going to have a big week this week.
I like it. Higbee had, I think, 6 targets and 5 receptions or something like that. It was definitely like 60-something yards.
And moving forward, I'm really this past week got real warm on Higbee. I'm like, he's somebody I should probably try and target.
I mean, Matt Stafford, we weren't sure what that offense was going to look like. And I think that's what kind of proved to us. It's like, all right, Matt Stafford is the Matt Stafford that we know. Plus, he's on a better team now. So I missed this question before, but Jarvis Landry versus Texans or T. Higgins versus Bears?
Because Landry is the number 1 today, I will go Landry, and it's probably PPR. I do think that they'll be able to run with ease, but I do think that Baker's going to want to toss the ball around, and Landry's their surest option. And it's mostly if there wasn't Boyd and if there wasn't Chase, if it was just 2, I might say Higgins, but it's 3. And I think Boyd bounces back a little bit today. So I'm going to go Landry.
All right. Next one here, Antonio. Who would you start PPR? J-Rob, Mike Davis, or Hines?
J-Rob's got me a little worried, not because of him, just because of the coach. But I do think that Jacksonville tries to run a little bit more, commit to the run earlier on in the game. And Carlos Hyde's just not good. Although Hines could get a ton of catches today, and Davis going against the Bucs, so no thank you. I'm going to go J-Rob, but Hines is a close second.
All right. This is a question you wanted me to bring up from earlier in the week. Tim K had Julio or Hines in the flex PPR.
I got a feeling about Julio today for some reason. I think that game's going to be high scoring. We haven't got to it. It's at the end of the slate against Seattle. But I think I might go Julio today. They looked for him a couple times in the end zone. I think I'm going to go Julio today. I think they bounce back in what's going to be a high scoring game with Seattle.
All right. You got some beats, man. I like that.
A little background noise.
I like it. It gets you amped, gets you ready to go. Denver Broncos at Jacksonville Jaguars. Broncos looked like a decent team last week against a mediocre Giants team. Can we see the same kind of performance? Obviously, Judy being out. I know you're high on somebody stepping up, but Tim Patrick being picked up a lot of places. Is it Patrick or Hamler? Or do we see Font come on a little bit more this week than we did last week? On the flip side, Jacksonville didn't look good against Houston. They're going up against a good defense in Denver, which it looks like Chubb is coming back this week and will be playing also Von Miller. You're not high on J-Rob. Who should we start? Any Jacksonville players this week?
Yeah, as far as the Broncos go, if they don't assault this Jaguars team this week, Teddy Bridgewater specifically, Drew Lock could be coming into play week 3. Because if he doesn't show great offensive show
great offensive showings,
it's going to be Drew Lock. I mean, you got to play Sutton in this game. Hamler's the guy you alluded to. I think Hamler is the better play than Tim Patrick. If you're out there and you went and you scooped up Tim Patrick and thinking that he's going to slide in and be the one, I think it's going to be Hamler today. Last year we saw some Tim Patrick. He flashed. That's why people know the name. Hamler didn't do much last year. But Hamler's the number 2 right now. It's Sutton and Hamler. They're the 2 starters. And, of course, Noah Fant, again, tight end is what it is. You got to play him. And a lot of people benched Melvin Gordon last week, and they're going to slide him in because his stats looked good. But I talked about it on the Tuesday show. He was like 10 for 31, and then he had 1 for 70 in the touchdown. Before that happened, Javonte Williams actually had more rushes, better stats. And they're going to get the rookie going in this game against Jacksonville. Javonte Williams is a start today in the flex or the RB2 if you're struggling. This is where Javonte Williams makes his name known and solidified. amongst the fantasy community. And for the Jaguars, I mean, I'll play J-Rob if I got to. I just recommended him over a couple people. J-Rob's fine. I'm not dying to play any of these wide receivers for Jacksonville. Chark, Chenault, Marvin Jones. I mean, they're fine for a wide receiver 3 or a flex, but I look for another option. I just don't feel good about Trevor Lawrence. I haven't since a year ago in college. You know what I mean?
I was going to say ever.
Yeah, I haven't bought into him at all with the rest of the world.
Green Bay looked horrid last week. This may be silly, but Aaron Jones versus Detroit or Gordon versus Jacksonville.
That's extremely silly. Don't even play Gordon. You play Aaron Jones.
All right. David with the question, Gronk, Chenault, or Jamal Williams in the flex, PPR?
I think that Gronk is now the third person this week I've talked about that had a big week 1 and is going to disappoint a little bit. He was on people's benches last week. They picked him up, or now they automatically think they need to start him. We haven't gotten to the game yet, so I'm not going to tell you who I think is going to pop off, but I actually already did last week twice, on Tuesday and on Sunday morning, because it was a Thursday game. Jamal Williams banged up a little bit throughout the week, but they're saying he's going to play, and they're saying Swift is the questionable one. And it is the revenge game for Williams. Chenault's got a tough defense he's going against. It's a tough one. I would probably just go with Jamal for some Monday Night Magic against his old team.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Josue, Tyson, Drake, Ayuk, or Tim Patrick, flex PPR.
Drake.
Yeah, especially with Jacobs out. Yeah, Drake's. Even though it's weird, they said that Peyton Barber is going to be getting touches as the number 1, but I think that's just a fluke. I think it's going to be Drake as well. Claypool, Jamar Chase, Mitchell need 2. Just read Mitchell scheduled to be the featured option.
Yeah, there's the risk of Sermon getting burned. If he pops one off, he's going to get more burned, but you got to play the running back that is at least the number 1 as of this morning. So it's Mitchell. And you know what? I'm going to say that Chase Claypool bounced back a little bit this week. I'm going to go with Chase Claypool and Mitchell.
All right. Good luck in the ABG League this week. Yes, I would wish you the same, sir.
But we're playing against him.
We are, I know. All right. I was thinking the same about Jamal. Thanks. Yeah, it's a good option, man. I mean, from those other options, Jamal seems to be the one that would make the most sense.
Real quick, Rob, before we go on to the next game, I would notice we answered number 1 in the first video that got destroyed, but then you went right to question 4. Did we answer question 2 and 3?
I'm going through based on the games, so it's listed 1 through 12 on mine, but I'm just posting and pasting from there.
Word to moms.
All right. Buffalo Bills at the Miami Dolphins. Buffalo was the shocker last week. Everyone thought they were going to come out. Not Gas. Gas thought he was going to see the Steelers defense step up against the Buffalo Bills. Do they have a bounce back week against this Miami Dolphins team that was just a close game with New England? And as far as the players that we should be paying attention to, Zach Moss is back for the Bills. Do we think Zach Moss now takes over a little bit more from Singletary? And then from the flip side, Gabe Davis also questionable. On the flip side, Waddle and Parker, but Fuller is actually out for personal issues. So he's supposed to come back from suspension. Seems to be having team issues, it sounds like. I know you weren't high on him anyways, but does that make it even better for somebody else?
Yeah, maybe his new PED shipment didn't come in time for the week. So once again, if you got Fuller, I'm going to continue to say dump him, because if he ever does play, maybe it's next week, he'll break. Waddle's a great play in this game. Devontae Parker looked great last week. You play him. I'm not a fan of Gaskin. Ahmed didn't do much. Gesicki did nothing last week, which means he plays well today, but nobody's going to start him unless you absolutely have to. The Dolphins typically play very well against the Patriots and win most of the time lately that they play them. And then the next week they stink. They get blown out. And I am on record basically saying I feel like the Bills are not going to be as good as they were last year. I feel like they'll hit a few bumps. I started off week 1 saying Pittsburgh was going to beat them. And I feel like they do bounce back in this one. I think Josh Allen will find his guys a little extra today. The Beazle and Diggs will get along one. And as far as running back goes, I think that Moss coming back and not having to use dead legs Breda, I think that's going to help quite a bit. Miami defense is good defense, but I think that they will be able to run against them. They'll get the run game going. Josh Allen will be smarter with his passes. I think the Bills lay a shellacking on the Dolphins, which is good for the Dolphins pass catchers constantly playing catch up.
I like it. All right. New England Patriots at my New York Jets. Rookie matchup of the week.
Yeah.
With Mac Jones and Zach Wilson, who you think are going to be the number 1 and 2 pretty much for the year when it comes to these guys. Patriots looked okay. They used Damien Harris. Is it Jacoby Myers? Is it Nelson Aguilar? Is it Jonnu Smith? Is it Hunter Henry? Let's talk about those guys. On the flip side, Corey Davis was the one who showed up last week, but Crowder seems to be coming back. Cole seems to be questionable, but possibly going to play, giving him more actual options now. Do you see Zach Wilson being able to open up more, or do they continue on the running and defense?
The thing to worry about here is Bill Belichick is great against rookie quarterbacks. He's also great at taking out the number 1 option. So that makes me very wary of Corey Davis this week. Great season last year, blow up week 1. Some people had him on the bench, not sure why, but they did. And they're going to put him back in the lineup. So I like the play of Davis today as a wide receiver 3. I like him as a flex, but I'm just saying I'm a little worried. So if you're somebody who had 3 players last week at wide receiver and you're like, oh, Corey Davis was great last week, now I have to put him in, you're going to bench somebody good, I wouldn't do it. Just keep with what you had, because odds are you had somebody who should have done well last week and didn't. Chances are they're going to do better this week. I'm worried about Corey Davis today. Again, Belichick gets after rookie quarterbacks, got a great history of doing so. He's the mastermind that we all know, and he's great at taking away the number 1 option. Crowder coming back even adds on to that. Keelan Cole you talked about, right? Is that who you just mentioned?
Yeah, Elijah Moore. I mean,
even him being there for a couple snaps, it's going to add on to it. They're going to try their best to take away Corey Davis. Be interested to see if Michael Carter gets a little more involved today, but it's going to be tough against the Patriots rush defense. As far as the Patriots go, you got to play Myers. You can play him. Jets defense didn't look great last week. Aguilar continued to look good. I think your play today is Mr. Hunter Henry, because Jonnu Smith is questionable going in. They could limit his snaps. You might see a little more Devin Asiasi, which means Hunter Henry's on the field a lot more often, and he is far better than Asiasi at this point in his career. And Damien Harris is a must start. You got to play him. He looked great last week. He had the fumble at the end, but Ramondre Stevenson also fumbled earlier in the game. I don't think he goes into a doghouse, and you can run all over this Jets defense, it looks like, from what we saw week 1. So that's what Bill Belichick's going to want to do to help protect Max. So Damien Harris is probably the best play in this entire game.
All right, let's do a flex here. Waddle, Mike Williams, or Tyson Williams?
Chargers, remind me. Who are they playing?
Chargers are playing Cowboys. Chargers are home.
That's right. Yeah, Mike Williams. I'm going to ride the train. I'm going to keep it going. Mike Williams. This offense, new offensive coordinator, coach, he plays the position that gets the ball a ton. And we saw it week 1. And as long as he's healthy, I'm going to keep it going. The Cowboys are going to put up points. Put them out there, right?
He agrees.
Yes.
I make you play with my Play-Doh.
Very good. It looks like it's a lot of fun.
But I put water in it so I can make slime.
All right, be careful.
I know.
All right, San Francisco 49ers at the Philadelphia Eagles. San Francisco looked pretty good. Jimmy G looked like his old self. Debo was the guy. We've heard all week, Ayuk. Even Shanahan was like, listen, I'm not playing fantasy football. I'm playing real football. But they say they're going to start easing him in a little bit more. It's all about the hamstring, Do we see a little bit more Ayuk today? And as far as the running situation, is it all Eli Mitchell, all systems go, or do we see Trey Sermon taking some of that love away? On the flip side, Eagles look pretty good, man. Hurts, we already mentioned Rager. Do we see another Devonta Smith, or are they going to focus on him? Anybody else we should be paying attention to from that backfield? I know you're high on Gainwell. Do we see more Gainwell? That Sanders, he produced, but Gainwell seemed to produce more in that game.
Yeah, I think Debo is going to fall into that hole of the killed it week 1 on everybody's bench, and they feel like they have to play him today. It's certainly a great matchup to do so, but they will look to use Ayuk because they didn't even use him last week, so that automatically means he's going to get some of Debo's production. They got the ancillary options that the names popped off last week that really we don't even care about at this point, not playing them. I think Kittle is the one that's really going to have a huge game this game. Philadelphia Eagles, typically not that good against tight ends. I think the Niners are smart to utilize that today, and the Eagles are going to it's not like they're going to ignore Kittle, but they are going to focus a bit on Debo after what they saw last week. They're going to be wary of the sweeps that Debo and Ayuk both do. They're going to be looking at the running backs. Mitchell popped off last week. Sermon's going to play. They still got Hasty. And I think this just helps Kittle. A little bit of a down week. I mean, he was okay. He was good last week, but I think this is a game where Kittle really gets going. But you don't need me to say that. You're putting him in your lineup anyway. As far as the Eagles go, I think they do, like you said, look to take Devonta Smith out of it a little bit. I think last week I thought Rager was going to kill it and be the best. He had a really good week, but it was the Devonta Smith show. I think Rager's a really good play this week. I think Goddard is a really good play this week because Ertz has been a little bit banged up. So I think that's really going to help him. Hold on, Noah. And the Miles Sanders, Boston Scott, Kenneth Gainwell situation that we have going on, I think with each and every week that we get going, Miles Sanders owners are going to start to get real nervous because I do think that Kenneth Gainwell is going to continue to get more and more and more playing time. Ever since week 1 of the preseason, he's just continued to prove that he can do it right on through last week. So I do like Gainwell today as a flex because they will be playing a little bit from behind in this one. I think the Niners D is going to try and clamp down a little bit and force Hurts into some mistakes. But if you got Hurts and you don't have a much better option, you play him.
All right, good question here. Would you start Damien Harris over DJ Moore, another league flex?
I would. And the reason I would is because Damien Harris will it'll be part of the game plan to really get him going against the Jets. He's the best running back they have. I do think DJ Moore has a good game today, a big bounce back on people's benches because of last week. But there are 2 other options there. Damien Harris is just safer. You put him in. You get to the goal line, he's getting the touchdown.
All right. Darko, Miles Sanders versus Niners or Damien Harris versus Jets? Also have Rojo versus Falcons, but tough to trust him.
I'll go Damien Harris. We haven't gotten to the game yet, but I like Rojo, but I always like Rojo. Hold on. What, Noah? All right, can you leave it right there? I'll clean it up. All right? I'll clean it up in a minute.
All right. Las Vegas Raiders, Pittsburgh Steelers. Raiders look good in the second half of the game mostly. Obviously, it was the Darren Waller show pretty much with that team. Anybody else we should be looking at? I know you're high on Brian. You see him getting a deep ball today. On the flip side, we were talking about Claypool. We talked about Deontay, Juju. Which one of those guys are we trusting putting in our lineup today?
I know. Well, hold on. Clean my kid's hands. Raiders, it's Waller, like we talked about on Tuesday, right? Nobody's got to say anything. Brian Edwards got going to the end of the game. I think you see that sort of carry over into this one. And Kenyon Drake, I've been saying it since the preseason. He's somebody that you wanted to target for this very reason. Because when he's on the field, he's going to catch a ton of balls, and he can run the ball as well. And Josh Jacobs continues to get hurt over the pretty much all of last season. He's already hurt, so it's going to be Kenyon Drake's show today, even against this tough Pittsburgh Steelers defense. I'm not worried at all about Peyton Barber. For the Steelers, I said that I feel like Chase Claypool bounces back. All right, no, thank you.
Well, what are those?
They're markers. You got to play Deontay Johnson, if that wasn't evident last week. And the running backs for the Ravens looked okay for both halves for the most part, till they kind of went away from Tyson. I think Najee Harris finally gets going in this one. And Freiermuth, Ebron's hurt, right? So it's going to be his show. So if you need a tight end streamer, that's your guy this week.
All right. I missed this question before. Perhaps I reconnected too late. Sorry, Antonio. Yeah, we had some technical difficulties earlier today. Do you recommend Green Bay defense today? Just yes or no?
Depending on options, yes. I feel like they're just going to be just as angry. I mean, they didn't look terrible last week. The offense kept giving the Saints the ball really close. So, yeah, I recommend them if you have no better options.
All right. Braden with the question, Claypool or Corey Davis?
I'd go Claypool. Noah, please stop.
All right. Next one, Deontay Johnson or Jamar Chase. It gets better, man. Don't worry. It gets better. As they get older, it gets better.
It's great now.
It is fantastic. It gets a little easier as far as listening.
Deontay.
Oh, yeah. Target machine, man. It's always got to look at targets. Would you start Drake over Jamar Chase?
Yes.
Yeah, I would do that as well, yeah. Especially with, what's his name out? Josh Jacobs. J-Rob or Goddard PPR flex. That's an interesting one.
I'll go Goddard. Noah, please stop. Leave these alone. Noah. No, I don't want him up here. I want him there.
All right, next one here. Minnesota Vikings at the Arizona Cardinals. Vikings didn't look the greatest. Had a close game with Cincinnati last week. How are we feeling about I know you said Thielen starts off. Does he have another good game in him? Justin Jefferson? Anybody else we should be paying attention to? Dede actually had a couple targets last week. On the flip side, Arizona was all systems go. Do we see them all systems go again this week and pretty much can start anybody on that team?
Yeah, I think Arizona's defense is a lot better than most people thought. And I think that Justin Jefferson had a little bit of a down week last week, but I do think he bounces back. I think the victim from this week is going to be Adam Thielen. You're not getting 2 touchdowns out of him again today. He's probably another one who maybe was on benches last week and is going to get thrown in, unfortunately. KJ Osborne is a name. Maybe he's going to be their wide receiver 3. I thought it would be Dede. Darko and I were having conversations early in the week. He's definitely worth a flyer. If he's out on the waiver wire, you go, you scoop him up. If you absolutely need a prayer, you put him in today, because if the Cardinals secondary, who looked really good, is taking out Jefferson and Thielen, then maybe KJ Osborne is somebody that comes through today, second-year player. They've been looking for a wide receiver 3, Rob, for as long as I can remember. I thought it would be Dede, but he's just not back and healthy, and Osborne made a splash last week. I think Delvin Cook is going to get going a little bit more today. He had a fine week last week, but once again, you're not doing anything productive with Alexander Mattison unless you're a Delvin Cook owner, so you should just drop him. And if Cook gets hurt today and you get mad at me for telling you to drop him, then I'm sorry. In Arizona, I mean, what can I say? You play Edmonds, you play Nook, you play Kyler.
What about Kirk? Kirk had a pretty good game last week. Are we trusting him?
And I liked Kirk over AJ Green, because the questions last week were all about AJ Green, which is mind-blowing to me. Kirk's fine, I guess, as a 4-5 wide receiver 3 or flex.
What's going on there, Nick? Thielen or AJ Brown?
Is that AJ Brown or Antonio?
Oh, Antonio Brown. Ooh, good question. Nick, let us know which one it is.
It's probably Antonio Brown.
Yeah, he would put AJ then, I would assume.
Tough one because I don't think Antonio is going to do anything close to what he did last week. However,
Antonio.
Yeah, I don't know. I'd probably just go with Thielen and keep the early season stuff going. Just because they're playing against a better offense. No, hold on. Because they're playing against better offense, so they'll probably have to throw the ball more.
Hey Siri, are these your headphones?
Yeah, do you want to wear them?
Yeah, I need to.
Okay, you can wear them.
Braden has in one of his leagues the entire Vikings passing attack going against them. Cousins, Jefferson, Thielen. What do you think? Would you start Cousins or Herbert at quarterback?
I think he's using.
I
wish I could show you what he said.
I'm sorry.
He's got headphones on, the microphone, dancing, singing in front of the karaoke machine.
My kind of kid, yes.
Yeah.
I can't wait to do karaoke nights again.
You're putting all your eggs in one basket.
That makes me nervous, especially against a Cardinals defense.
I mean, if you're using Jefferson and Thielen, you might as well go Herbert because I love the double BB aspect, but if Cousins lays an egg, all three of them do. I don't know. What do you think, Rob?
That Cardinals defense, I don't think was any joke last week. I think they're actually pretty good. You're right, putting all your eggs in one basket. If you're going to do it, I would go Cousins and Jefferson, or if you're even Cousins and Thielen, you're not sitting Jefferson there, so it'll probably be Cousins and Jefferson if you're going to go that way, and then start another wide receiver, or if you're going to start two wide receivers, he's right.
Antonio, you play the Browns. You play the Browns, not the Packers, not the Cardinals. You play the Browns.
All right, Browns defense against Houston.
I'll do it after this. Then we can sing all we want. Right?
As a Giants fan, I'm very happy with Sterling Shepard. Is he the new wide receiver one and outlook for the rest of the year on it?
I mean, he did this all year last year, pretty much for the most part. His big thing is staying healthy. And I do think, and I mentioned this in the Tuesday video, that Kenny Galladay is getting healthier and more acclimated with the offense each and every week. And we saw him have a better week this week than he did last week. I think that's going to continue. And if Galladay can stay healthy, then I think Galladay is the wide receiver one on the team, de facto. But Shepard's going to be the PPR guy. Both of them got to stay healthy. But whether or not he's a wide receiver one, at worst, he's probably the 1A to the 1B or vice versa with Galladay. But Galladay is going to keep getting better, healthier, more acclimated. The outlook is he's a PPR machine right now.
Definitely. I mean, Barkley's going to get more acclimated too, like you had mentioned and stuff like that. So you got to think some of those touches are going to go to those two other guys. So is he going to be sustaining the amount? Possibly not. But again, from a PPR, if he can stay healthy, definitely a good way to go. I honestly want you to turn the camera to him compared to what you're telling me because it sounds more entertaining over there, brother. All right, Atlanta Falcons at the Tampa Bay Bucks. Possible rain in this game, but Atlanta not being home didn't look like they had a great offense going. Mike Davis got the ball a lot. Kyle Pitts didn't get the ball a lot. And we see Kyle Pitts now getting the ball because they're going to be behind so much. Is this I know Ridley you're starting, but can we use a Russell Gage today or another option at number 2 or even a flex for somebody that's on this Atlanta Falcons team? On the opposite side, Tampa Bay Bucks were all systems go. It was Godwin. It was Antonio Brown. Mike Evans wasn't in the show. Is this a Mike Evans week? And are we seeing another downfall from one of those other guys? Talk to me. And the Rojo Lenny's situation. Can you take a chance on one of these guys?
Yeah, so I think Atlanta goes into this game with a similar mindset that Dallas did last week, and they realize they just have to throw the ball as much as possible. Atlanta typically plays the best team in the South very, very well whether it was the Panthers when they were undefeated and they beat them, whether it's the Saints or if it's the Bucs. It's crazy that it's never the Falcons, except for the one year that they blew the Super Bowl. But so this game could be a close one, but it's not going to be a close one if they run the ball because Mike Davis will get stuffed. So Mike Davis isn't necessarily a sit because he can catch a ton of passes, but I would bench him. Pitts, Ridley, go ahead. Those are going to be all you can really do. Maybe we see Gage show up in this one, but I'm not playing him. Neither should you. For the Bucs, I talked about it last Sunday. I talked about it on Tuesday. This is a Mike Evans game. I don't love Antonio Brown in this one. I feel like he did what he did last week. Gronk did what he did last week. I liked both of them. I liked Gronk well before the week, and I liked Antonio Brown on Wednesday and Thursday leading up to the game. I told a bunch of people I really think Antonio Brown is going to do something good in this one. Noah. And likewise, I feel like both of them are going to take a bit of a back seat today. I think Mike Evans is going to get fed. He didn't get anything last week. Brady's going to make sure he takes care of him. In the Rojo Fournette situation, can we take a chance? I would never take a chance on Leonard Fournette. And I feel like if there's a team that they could run against, yes, they say the Falcons have a good run defense. I'm not buying it. I think Rojo will come into this game motivated, but you only take a chance on him if you have no better options at all.
All right. Nick with a question. Debo, Jamar Chase, Deontay, Mike Evans. Got to start two.
I'm going Deontay and Evans.
All right. Bills defense or Arizona defense today and rest of season?
The Bills defense the rest of the season might be okay for the simple fact that they're playing in a division with two rookie quarterbacks and one second-year quarterback. But I'm going to go with the Arizona defense for the rest of the season as of now, just because I feel like their offense is going to be more explosive than the Bills with Kyler Murray. Offense helps the defense.
All right. Dallas Cowboys at the Los Angeles Chargers. Cowboys came out swinging. They looked good against Tampa Bay on Thursday night. They've had a lot of rest. Zeke didn't have the greatest game, but can we see him bounce back a little bit? As far as the wide receivers, who's getting the ball? We didn't know if Amari Cooper was going to get the ball. CeeDee Lamb, Gallup got hurt, but seems to be possible of playing. Are the targets still going to go the same way between Amari Cooper and CeeDee Lamb, or do you feel differently? On the flip side, we talked about mentioning Herbert. You're going to play Herbert against I would think this Dallas defense is not the greatest, obviously. They put up a lot of points, but they give up a lot of points. But Mike Williams, Keenan Allen, who had an okay week. I mean, I'm a little confused on who to use in this offense for the Chargers. Can you guide me?
Sure. They're going to run Zeke. They shied away from him quite a bit last week, very smartly, against the Bucs, as we all realized. The number one rush defense. They're going to use Zeke. The wide receivers, I'm not counting on Gallup playing. I feel like there's no reason to. They could put what the heck the third dude's name? I can't think of it.
Wilson?
Cedric Wilson. You play Cooper, you play CeeDee Lamb, but I think the tight ends are going to get really involved today. I think both of them are back, Jarwin and Schultz, if I'm not mistaken. I think they will use both tight ends. By the way, my bad. Yeah. I think that's right. I think that they're going to use both the tight ends today. I think the tight ends get really involved in this game. They attack over the middle and up the seams. I feel like they use a ton of Zeke today. I feel like they do what they have to do. They couldn't do it last week because of the run defense, but they're going to run the ball as much as possible to keep the Chargers offense off the field. Chargers offense, Mike Williams, already recommended him. Keenan Allen, of course, you got to play him. Jared Cook did a little bit last week. Parham didn't really do anything last week. Palmer and all these other guys that they kind of have hanging around the wide receiver area. You're not going to play any of them this week. You play Williams, you play Allen, Eckler. Sure, go ahead and just continue to watch. If you haven't already picked him up, Mr. Larry Roundtree, told you about him over the summer. This will be another good game for him to solidify that number 2 role. Hopefully you've gotten rid of Justin Jackson and Joshua Kelly at this point. There's no reason to have them.
I saw Roundtree being picked up in a lot of places and a lot of Roundtree questions. So it seems like you were there first there, I guess. All right. Tennessee Titans at the Seattle Seahawks. Titans didn't look good last week. They got beat up. Do they come out now with full force? And who's going to be getting the ball for them? Obviously, a lot of A.J. Brown questions we're seeing, but anybody else we should be thinking about? And on the flip side, Seattle had all systems go. That offense looked really good. You call it Tyler Lockett's boom or bust. He boomed last week. Yeah. Is this a DK Metcalf game then? Do we see Gerald Everett producing again? And, I mean, the running back situation's just – are they going to be running the ball? Why would you run the ball when you have that kind of offense? So let's talk about that.
Yeah, I think this one's going to be high scoring, which is why I kind of am warming up, and I don't like them season long. But to Julio today, I feel like they're going to make sure that they get Henry real involved. Henry can run on this team. But I do feel like they're also going to, because of that, be able to pass the ball with a lot more efficiency than they did last week. I'm not playing them, but you'll probably see some Ferkser today. I'm not a fan. You'll probably see some Ferkser. I'm fine with Julio. You got to play A.J. Brown. DK Metcalf's going to have a game today. Tyler Lockett had his last week. Everett, continue to use him as your tight end if that's who you got. No worries. People love Chris Carson. He should be fine in this one. DJ Dallas is now the clear-cut number 2. So if anything happens to Carson, maybe you scoop up DJ Dallas right now if you got an extra bench spot or some dead weight there. Because if anything happens to Carson, a little bit of rain in the forecast, what Rob's got there, a little twisted ankle or something, DJ Dallas now the starter because Penny is hurt again. Penny's out. Penny can't stay healthy. It's DJ Dallas. We saw what he did last year when he had the opportunity. I do think they use him today. They used Penny and Dallas last week, so they'll use Dallas, in both the combined share today. I think it's a little bit high scoring. However, I like the Seattle Seahawks today as a defense. I feel like they're sneaky play as a defense, especially with the rain. The rain usually helps the offense as far as the wide receivers, but it can amount to some fumbles. And Derrick Henry's kind of sure-handed, but they got some big guys up front. If they hit him hard enough. Ryan Tannehill can fumble. I think he had a fumble or 2 last week, if I'm not mistaken. So I like the Seattle defense at home opener. There's somebody, if for whatever reason you need a streaming defense this point in the season. Although I think it's going to be high scoring, I think the defense for Seattle gets at least 1 or 2 turnovers in this game.
All right. Seth, with the question that you wanted me to bring up on the show, start week 2 at flex. Julio, Devonta Smith, Eli Mitchell.
Like I said, I'm warming up to Julio. I think they locked down on Devonta, and you see more Rieger today, but I got to go Eli Mitchell. I mean, you got to go with the running back and the running scheme. Just continue to do it.
All right. We're up
Julio's
to Sunday Night Football. Kansas City Chiefs at the Baltimore Ravens. Is it just the 3, Mahomes, Kelsey, Hill for the Chiefs? Or can we trust CEH, even though he had the touchdowns last week? As far as the flip side, Lamar, and everybody's banged up. Mark Andrews seems to be the only one that's healthy. Marquise Brown's banged up. Bateman's banged up. Duvernay's banged up. Can we see Sammy Watkins catching balls again this week since they have so many injuries? Are you starting any of those guys? What are you thinking?
I love CEH in this game. I think that Clyde Edwards-Helaire is a great play this week. A lot of people are going to back off him, but it's Sunday Night Magic. And I think they're going to utilize him and run all over this Baltimore team. And, of course, I mean, I'd be wasting everybody's time if I said any more than just their names, Hill and Kelsey. That's it. I mean, Hardman, He's Hill Jr. He's not going to do anything if Hill's not in the game. Robinson, you don't need to play him at this point. As far as Baltimore goes, I'm not worried about Tyson at all. They're going to be playing, Devonta Freeman in this one as well? Who cares? Latavius Murray is Latavius Murray. You have no reason to be putting him in this game because if Baltimore's playing from behind, he's got no real shot. And I told you his name last week. He was a speculative, preemptive strike. You grab him, you stash him. Tylan Wallace, rookie wide receiver for the Ravens. Sammy Watkins is a wet floor away from being out for multiple weeks. And this is Sunday night. And this is what happens in these night games when everybody's watching. Somebody comes out of nowhere, and then everybody sees him, and everybody wants him. You're not picking him up and playing him, but you're watching his name. It's a preemptive grab. If you got a spot, you grab Tylan Wallace. Why? Because of all the things that Rob just mentioned. Brown is hurt. Bateman's hurt. This guy's hurt. That guy's hurt. This guy's hurt. They need a wide receiver with some consistency, with some fresh legs that hasn't been injured, that played well all preseason. It's Tylan Wallace. That's the name. Write it down. If you didn't read the post, put it down. He's somebody that you can grab now or grab after the 4 o'clock games. If somebody gets hurt or somebody stinks again, you can cut him, pick this guy up, and just put him on your bench because if he shows up tonight, you're not getting him on Wednesday.
#truth. All right. Moving on to the last game here. Detroit Lions at the Green Bay Packers. Obviously, we all saw what happened with the Green Bay Packers last week. It's been talked about everywhere and anywhere I look. You have to bounce back against the Detroit Lions, right? I mean, you have to literally, I think, play everybody in this game for Green Bay. Yeah. On the flip side, Swift banged up, you mentioned. Jamal Williams banged up. So does that mean that Goff has to throw the ball? If that's the case, who the heck is he throwing to with Tyrell Williams also out?
Yeah, the Packers, if you got a better quarterback option, I wouldn't hate it. Just because we have to see if Rodgers has just checked out. But he's going to bounce back. Devontae Adams, we had a question earlier about Aaron Jones. Come on. You got to put him in the game, especially against this Lion run defense. Sneaky play. Not sure if it would be this week, like Sunday, Monday DFS. But if you play a Monday-only slate, I put Valdez-Scantling somewhere because he did nothing last week, but the whole team did nothing last week. And I've never been, if you've watched the show any other season since he's been in the league, never been a big MVS fan, but I'm really warm on him going into this year, and I really, really like him. Hold on, Noah. Almost done. I think he's going to pop off Monday night. I think you see a couple of big plays out of him. And Josiah DeGuara, the tight end I continue to tell you about, he was doing he got concussed early on in the game. He just can't stay healthy. It's really sad. You got to play Bobby T. Best of luck. As far as the Lions go, yeah, they're going to have to throw the ball because they're going to be playing from behind most of the game. And we have a new weekly thing, Rob. And we have a man.
We're going to go with the Week 2 Guesstimator.
Here's our special for the week. It is Quintez Cephas. No Tyrell Williams this week. They're going to have to throw the ball. He is your guy. If you are in a supreme pinch at wide receiver, you grab him now. You throw him in wide receiver 3 or flex, and you let it ride. He, aside from Amon-Ra St. Brown, he's probably their best wide receiver. And now he's going to get full-fledged burn because there is no Tyrell Williams. Thank God. I told you to avoid that dude. He's hurt already. Come on. Quintez Cephas, your Monday night and your Week 2 guesstimator. He's the name. Pick him up.
Yeah, and that's where you guys get here, man. The inside scoop from outside the box. This is your outside of the box guesstimator for the week. Anything else there, guess?
No, I gotta go see what my 3-year-old's destroying upstairs.
All right. So, guys, remember always follow us on Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, and Patreon. Best of luck this week. Answers by guess.
Yeah, if you have questions, 12:30, so about 70 minutes from now is going to be the cutoff, because at that point we're pretty much busy getting everything done so that we can relax and watch the games. And Rob even has some soccer matches
on Sundays.
So,
lovely. All right, guys.
welcome,
Answers
John.
by guess.
Have a good one.
Later.
See ya.